Hi, everyone. Welcome to our new moon in Aries, the first new moon after the spring equinox of 2026. And I'm excited to talk about some of the themes and then go through a little bit of a meditation. I apologize in advance. I am coming kind of residual effects from a bit of a cold over the last few days. So if I'm a little bit hoarse in the voice or phlegmy, that's just my body finishing the purge. Okay, so we're going to go into some symbology first before I just dive in as I tend to without always thinking. I invite us to just take a moment and kind of land in our body so we can receive the information a little bit better and just to give ourselves an opportunity to create a little bit of space, shake off anything that's been kind of bothering us if we've been in our minds about and then just land in our body. So we'll take a few deep breaths, remembering to inhale fully, hold at the top, and make our exhales longer than the inhales. I invite you to inhale with your nose. You can exhale with your nose, or if you need a little bit more of like a release, exhale with your mouth. You can have one or both hands over your heart space to just kind of somatically connect. And yeah, we'll begin there. So take your time. I'm going to take maybe 4 or 5 deep breaths. You're welcome to join with me and then continue if you need a few more. Also just taking inventory of if you're holding any stress in your body, and releasing, say if your tongue's on the top of your mouth, releasing that, relaxing your jaw, things like that. Shoulders, you can give them a roll if you need to. So yeah, we'll do that for a few moments. Feel your shoulders lower on the exhale. Just imagine letting any worries you've had kind of melt away. You can put them in a box, knowing that they'll be there when you come back. But right now, just focusing in on your body in this present moment. You can continue taking a few more deep breaths if you need to, and then just kind of join us when you're ready. I'm going to go through a little bit of symbology, as I often do with these circles and many of my trainings and such. To begin, it's a new moon in Aries. New moon representing, in terms of nature and seasons, it represents a winter because it's dark. We don't see the new moon. And it's a time to reflect and plant seeds of intentions, essentially for the next growing season before we go into spring. This is where, for those who work on intentions and manifestation, this is where you plant those seeds of intention. And then through the next couple weeks, watering them with actionable items to kind of nourish and see where they go. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. It begins a new astrological year and represents raw energy, new beginnings, creativity, and just kind of actioning. The ruling planet of Aries is Mars, and it symbolizes action and like just kind of forward motion, which kind of ties it all together nicely. So this is an opportunity to try new things and be intentional with where we want to go next in this season of life. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning, it is the first new moon after the spring equinox. Spring equinox also represents new beginnings, awakening, growth, renewal, fertility, slow movement after a season of reflection and hibernation from winter. So it's kind of, we've already had that come to be. Equinox is also equal light, equal darkness, and the beginning of seeing more light in the day, right? The days start to get longer, which is also always hopeful for those, especially if you live in areas of, like in the Northern Hemisphere, where you can kind of get a bit of the winter blues. It's a hopeful time because we're seeing more light come in, and you start to see nature coming alive again, which can feel very hopeful. The other thing that I wanted to bring into this is there are 7 bodies that are in Aries right now. And by bodies, I mean most of them are planets. The moon is also included, which isn't a planet. And I thought I'd go through quick symbology of those too. Everything is direct, which means that it's forward motion. When things are in retrograde, like you've probably heard of Mercury in retrograde, when things are in retrograde, that's an opportunity to kind of slow down and review things. And yeah, so I'm going to go through the 7 things that are in Aries right now. First being the sun. The sun represents our identity and personal identity, how we see ourselves, how we kind of move through the world. The moon represents emotions, our emotional body. Mercury represents our mind and communication. So when I say all of these different bodies and the themes, you can look at those, but also with the theme of Aries of just like new beginnings, forward motion, new opportunities, and start to ponder a little bit how these themes can look in terms of how you want to move forward with this opportunity of new beginnings. Mars, like I said, it is the it drives action, like forward motion. It's like heave ho, it's ready to go. Saturn is I've heard it described as like the principle. It essentially comes in and makes us review things. And if we're not doing it from a place of like integrity and soul-led, it has to be kind of broken down to the foundation and rebuilt from a place of integrity, not ego. Neptune represents the kind of subconscious mind, and I would say intuition. It's kind of like just underneath the surface, the things that we're maybe not consciously aware of in our day-to-day. It's the intuition, the nudges, the what's another word that I want to use? It's the things that are kind of unseen. It can be taboo things, and it essentially invites us to tap in subconsciously and into listening to our higher self, our intuition, and the wisdom within that. I feel like there's something else I want to add, but I'll see if it comes to me. And then the last one, also not a planet, but Chiron, is known as the wounded healer. And I believe with kind of, and I'm new to astrology, so I'm trying to use basic concepts as I understand them. Chiron is, it's the wounded healer. So it's essentially an opportunity to see, how do I want to say this? I think presently, where we've had like maybe healing with some of these spots in our life that have hurt. What's a better way to describe that? Just give me one sec. I just need to take a breath. Okay, what came to me is our healing journey and how it's driving us forward in life. So if there's something that you've been working through, kind of taking inventory of it and transmuting it from a place of hurt to a place of healing and power, helping us to empower ourselves, step into our power, and use the lessons that we learn through those struggles to step more fully into our own authenticity, our own power, and our own autonomy for moving forward. I hope that makes sense. So those are the 7. There's the Sun, Moon, Mercury, Mars, Saturn, Neptune, and Chiron. So all of those themes relating to new opportunities, new forward movement, new beginnings. Okay. I think that's all I wanted to do in terms of symbology and stuff. I know, I'll give an example. So if you have access to your birth chart, which I use the app called Time Passages. It's purple with a white moon symbol, and you could put your birth chart info, which is the date, month, year, time of birth, and location of birth, so the city that you were born in. That'll bring up your astrological birth chart, so like what the cosmos were doing at the moment of your birth with all the symbology and stuff around. It's kind of like your cosmic blueprint. I think I could use that as a way to describe it. So for this, if you want to do that on your own, you would look at your birth chart and find the Aries symbol. It's very comprehensive, so it'll show you if you're very new to astrology or you're not familiar at all. You would just look up the Aries symbol and then look at what house that it's in and what that house represents. So for instance, in my birth chart, Aries is in the 5th house, which represents creativity, self-expression, and it's also the arena in which we bring personal energies, like release them into the world. So very timely, leading up to this new moon, I had been thinking about I'd been feeling the nudge to get myself organized with a few of the posts that I've been meaning to create, and also offerings that I've been wanting to bring out into the world, including 2 courses that I've taught previously that are recorded and ready to just be, purchased as a self-paced. And so when I looked up what the 5th house is and stuff, I was like, that's very, very relevant to this week. And one thing I learned from Molly McCord, who's an astrologer, is because there's so many planets and bodies in Aries from the last few days leading up to this new moon, that the energy has been very strong leading into today. So it's super cool. Okay, I think we will settle into a meditation. So I invite you to get settled in. I'm just going to take a drink of water, so I'm going to mute myself for a second, but just settle in, take a couple deep breaths, and get comfortable, and then we're going to go on a little bit of a journey. So just give me 1 second to kind of clear my throat, and then we'll get going. So Okay, so we are settle in. If it feels safe and comfortable, you can close your eyes. I'm going to take a couple deep breaths just to sink in myself. And now I invite you to imagine, in whatever way feels best for you, sinking deeper into your body, down into your heart space. I've heard it described by Rebecca Campbell as like imagining it like a flower opening and then kind of moving inward. For me, I see it, I walk down a path through kind of like a secret garden gate into a meadow. That's kind of my soul space. So I invite you to kind of sink in and go there, get comfortable. And if visualizing kind of with your imagination, your intuitive sense is not clear for you, use your other senses. It just could be a sense of being somewhere. Like it just, the space feels familiar. Any other sensations, if there's like smells or just a knowing, it can be if you're hearing where you are. And once you're kind of settled in, familiar with the space, if there's an intention that you have for this session, you can set it now. If you're just open to receive, that can be a lovely intention as well. And as I often do with the new moons, although it's a time for planting seeds and looking forward, I think it's important to take a moment to acknowledge both where we've been recently and where we are currently. If we're always looking to just move forward, it kind of takes away the point of being mindful and present in our lives, right? And especially if we're going through something difficult, it's we want to just be mindful that we don't bypass those experiences in pursuit of what we want to create, because in my opinion, from my journey, my experience, those difficult times are what really shape us and give us the tools and the wisdom in order to move forward into better, more hopeful and times of thriving. So we'll take a moment to just honor where we've been, where we are. Honor might not feel like the right word, but when we can see and at least somewhat accept where we are, that's when we can start to detach from it a bit and learn and then move forward more consciously. I invite you to take a moment and give yourself some love and compassion from where you've been to where you are in navigating this past and current season. If you've been hard on yourself, let this be an opportunity in this safe space to just give yourself the nourishment that isn't always available in the day-to-day when we're just kind of going through it. So this is a bit of a pause to recalibrate a little bit, and just to see what's there, and to just to give ourselves a little bit of extra love. If you feel resistance to that, or that feels a little difficult, imagine yourself as someone you love deeply. It could be a best friend. If they were going through the same thing, what words of support and encouragement would you offer them, and what love would you give to them? You can imagine that first. If you have a friend going through a hard time, what words of encouragement would you give them? Would you give them big hugs? What kind of love would you send their way? And when that feels complete, I want you to take those same things, turn it around as a mirror, and spend a moment giving it back to yourself, even if it feels uncomfortable. Just remember that you are worthy, and you deserve to feel loved and supported through everything, regardless of the circumstance. And let's take a moment there. You can even imagine as a younger version of you, if that's a little bit easier to give yourself those things. Imagine as your childhood self, a little version of you. It's the same thing because they live within you. So however that kind of gives it more grace and ease, you can go that path. And when that feels complete, just take a moment and thank yourself for the support and the love. Remind yourself that it's going to be okay. You can do hard things, and there are better days ahead. And in kind of a figurative sense, if you can either visualize or just get the sense of doing this, you can see we've kind of gone from past. It might feel like it's behind us or in a different direction. We've acknowledged where we are in the present, and however this looks or feels to you, I want you to pivot towards the path ahead, however that looks or feels. I hope you can't hear the noise outside. It's I don't know what they're doing out there, but And when you feel like you're facing towards where you want to go next, we're going to go through some themes and allow this to be an opportunity to kind of ponder them and see what comes up intuitively. If you get any little ideas, ahas, nudges of where you might want to focus your energy and intentions over this next season of life. Also with one thing I'm leaning into is using the same astrological symbols. So having the new moon be the beginning of a 6-month cycle to when the full moon in Aries is in October. So having a longer life and cycle of the intentions that you set today. So we are facing towards where we want to go with the intention of newness, opportunity, endless opportunity, and forward motion. The first one that we will ponder is the energy and representation of the sun, which is our self, our identity, how we move about the world. What seeds of intention are you planting for yourself in how you want to show up over the next 6 months? And remembering that the ego will always protect the identity. So if we are able to plant new seeds and nourish them through actions, we will learn to reset, kind of rewire the brain so that those things are normal. And this is all high level stuff. There are more nuances to it that will be covered in the Set Your Vibe workshop. But this is a lovely place to start in terms of pondering and setting intentions. You can make a little mental note, or jot it down quick if you want. I'll summarize at the end of the meditation when we kind of come back to this place, and then you can jot down some notes if you want, either on paper or on your phone. The next thing that we are going to consider is the moon, which is our emotional body. How do you plan to take care of what drives your emotions and how you navigate them in daily life? What tools are available to you that perhaps it's time to implement them? This can help with moving from a space of reaction when things in daily life happen to creating space in order to have the availability to respond. Reaction is just that kind of quick, primal way of dealing with things, whereas responding is pausing, looking at what is there, and making a conscious decision on how you want to move forward. So what are your intentions to support your emotional the emotional part of yourself, your emotional body. And next is Mercury, our mind and communication. What seeds of intention do you want to set to support your mind, your mental health, and the way that you communicate with yourself and with those around you? Is there an invitation to be kinder to the way that you speak to yourself? Are there boundaries that are required for some of the people in your life and the way that you communicate? Do you need to create boundaries in your communication with others? Just remembering that boundaries are not just for the people that we set them for. They're for us. They create guidelines so that your energy is honored and others know how to interact with you. We teach people how to treat us, and boundaries are the container that we do that. What boundaries may need to be set, if any, or strengthened. Maybe you've recently set boundaries and need to remind yourself to continue with those boundaries unwaveringly. Next up is Mars, which is moving forward action. There's something that in your life that you know deep down you've needed to do. Let this be a catalyst to just do it, move forward. Next up is Saturn, the principle, the force and energy that kind of oversees what we're doing. And if we're not doing it from a place of integrity and soul, it gets knocked down to the foundation. Is there anything that you've been navigating or working through that is not in alignment with your values, with your integrity? Are you in a position to pivot and adjust it? Or does it just need to be knocked down and rebuilt, either from the foundation or pour a new foundation, so that it's sustainable? When I think of this, I think of things that lead to burnout, doing things that are not authentic to ourselves. The foundation is flimsy in those areas. True sustainability, strong foundation, is rooted in our values and a strong sense of integrity and making sure that we are taken care of too. Next up is Neptune, kind of the undercurrent It represents, oh, the other thing, yeah, I just looked it up because I'm like, I know there was something else I wanted to talk about. Inspiration, dreams, and psychic receptivity. Spirituality is the other main one. Are there intentions you want to set around those themes? Things that kind of go underneath the surface. They're a little bit more subtle. Have you received any intuitive nudges, any hits of the imagination that have inspired you that you can plant a seed of intention for? And next, last but not least, is Chiron, the wounded healer. So, just reading here, Chiron's position in the chart reveals where one has been wounded and where there's also opportunity for discovering healing from within and sharing this discovery with other people. This is where we go into those places that feel uncomfortable, those wounds, the things that we might have fear around or just kind of hit in our gut. And this is where we can kind of dig for the gold. It's in the wounds, those difficult experiences where we get the most wisdom. Have you been receiving wisdom through any difficult parts of this current season of life? What is that wisdom? And how can you use it to move forward in your life with more grace and ease? And it's okay if you don't have something for all of these 7 bodies that I mentioned. This is just an exercise of starting to or continuing a practice of introspection and curiosity using these themes as tools and opportunities. And when that feels complete, you can take a moment to thank the space for holding you. The space is a place where you can always return to when life is noisy and there's a lot going on externally. You can always come back here to the quiet, into a place where you can listen and receive from your higher self, from your intuition, from the divine, however that looks for you. Give your gratitude for this experience and whatever you may have received. And also an intention of, if you didn't receive any specific things or a great multiple things, if you're wanting more from this experience, just setting the intentions that it will land and you will receive it in the coming days. If not now, then soon. And when you're ready, you can leave that space, soul space. Start to come back into the higher part of your body, back into the room. And if your eyes are closed, one invitation I'll give you before we connect again on the screen is, when you open your eyes, to start with just looking around the room that you're in first. This is called orienting. It's like a somatic practice of creating safety in the body, just reminding your body that it's safe by looking further out into your surroundings before coming back to the screen. We're going to wind down the recording of this. Once you're back in the room and present, I invite you to grab a pen and paper or your phone and just jot down some quick notes of what came up for you. And I'll repeat again the bodies so that it's kind of refreshed in your mind, and it'll trigger those, whatever you received during the meditation. So just to go back through, we have the sun, which represents the self, how you show up in the world. The moon is our emotional body, how we take care of our emotional health. Mercury is the mind and communication, so mental health and how we communicate with ourselves and others. Mars is an initiator. It drives forward action. Saturn reviews what we're building, and if we're not building it from a place of integrity and soul, it needs to be knocked down and rebuilt on a foundation of soul and sustainability. Neptune represents spirituality, intuition, inspiration, creativity. And Chiron, the wounded healer, looking at the places that kind of shake us to the core, that we have difficulty navigating through, and transmuting it to healing and pulling the wisdom through those experiences and using the wisdom to move forward in life. So I invite you to kind of ponder that over the next few days if you'd like. Journal it out if you want, or take a few notes even just to acknowledge it. Use it as something you can come back to, because if you are setting these intentions, then it's good to have it in a place that you can see it so that you can be reminded to take those actions. And you can also check in from time to time, take a few deep breaths, come back into your body, and you could look at each intention and ask yourself, what's the next move? What's the next baby step? And see what comes up, and then that's your next step to take. So I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend. This is some very potent energy and opportunities for new beginnings. I feel very inspired by it, and I'm looking forward to sharing some things that have been just waiting to kind of be birthed. And I know that this is the perfect time with everything that's encouraging us to move forward with our dreams and such. So yeah, take care everyone, and we will talk soon. Bye.